I'm going to do a couple announcements before we jump into our presentation. So first of all, I just want to thank Sarah and Brit from KPS3 for joining us today to share their expertise about creating a competitive edge through marketing. We had a great talk with Stephanie Cruz last week, and I am fully expectant that this talk will be just as great and provide just as great insight as the last one did. So we do have a couple more Chamber EDU webinars coming up. We're closing out this Business 101 series next week, actually. So we've got a couple more opportunities to hear about mental health resources in the workplace, capturing the sale through good writing, which should be a really interesting one, especially if you're someone who is looking to develop and refine your digital footprint. That should be especially helpful to you. Also, virtual workplace engagement next week as well. So we're closing out our series with 3 really great sessions, and hopefully you'll visit our website and register for whatever is interesting. Really quickly, I want to tell you guys about what's coming up next in the next 2 months. We're taking a break from the Chamber EDU webinars that we've been doing, and we're doing a couple special series for you guys. So the first of those is the Green Business Training and Certification Program. What's really great about this program that we're doing in partnership with Keep Truckee Meadows Beautiful and the Nevada Green Business Network is that at the end of this course, you do have the ability to become a Nevada Green certified business, which is a great thing to do in this day and age as we're moving into a more green economy. We really do encourage all businesses, all shapes and sizes to come and attend. Lunch is provided. It's here in person with social distancing and mask wearing in place. So we hope that we'll get 25 businesses who are ready to take that challenge. And also we have HR Boot Camp coming up in April for four consecutive Thursdays in April, the 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th. This is a great 4-week series, $75 for all 4 sessions. So it's a screaming deal. And we're gonna cover all sorts of things when it comes to HR policy, onboarding people, retention, goal setting, reviews, performance improvement, HR guidelines that have shifted as a result of COVID-19. This is definitely not something that you want to miss. And so if you have HR folks or anyone who is a generalist in that realm on your team, this will be a great resource for them. And we encourage them to register and join us for that. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and I will turn it over to our guests.
Great. Thanks, Kristine. All right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Polito with KPS3, and I'm here with Brit Silva. And we're both Vice President of Client Strategy at KPS3. And also Brit is an associate professor up at UNR, and she teaches marketing. So we are excited to be here today. And if some of you were here last week, maybe with Steph Cruz, I might have heard that KPS3 is a marketing agency that specializes in all sorts of integrated marketing approaches through PR, digital, websites, everything in between there. And so we are excited to be here today to kind of share some of our knowledge and what we do kind of on a daily basis for our clients as well. So we'll go ahead and dig in. And I know that since we do have a nice amount of people here, feel free to jump in, ask us questions at any point. We can definitely make this a conversational minutes and time that we can have here together. So don't feel like you have to hold your questions until the end. So today on our agenda, we're going to be talking about market positioning, then from there going into market opportunities in that strategic window, talking about competitive advantages, and then we're going to give you a couple examples to show you how we've applied these principles in what we do, and then of course Q&A. But like I said, let's go ahead and take those questions as you go. All right, so when we think about market positioning, this is oftentimes when we have a new client come to us and wants to figure out, how best to market their product or their service, we often start here because this gives us a really great opportunity to look at the entire market landscape that's out there. Because we know for a fact that there's going to be competition. Even if you think there's not competition, we promise you have a competitor in some way, shape, or form. And so a lot of times we start there. We like to understand what the client does, who their competition is. And so we'll start out with really basic questions. Who's our competition? How do we compare to them? And then what opportunities do we have to compete against them? So sometimes with this, we're looking for, maybe are we the first? Are we the only? We'll look at pricing. Maybe you have a really great a social element to your business that we can highlight. So looking at all those sorts of things. And then if we want to go to that next slide. So one of the tools that we use though is creating a visual for it, because a lot of times I'm a visual person. It's helpful to see everything and where everybody lands. So we want to be able to kind of create almost a map, a quadrant in a sense, and distinctively put our competition and ourselves in different places within that map. It's really great as well in the sense that not only can you map it to how it actually is, but when you go to thinking about your future and where you want to be, it kind of will show you here in a minute as to where you can see some openings. So when we're doing this, there's some 3 basic things that we're thinking about. The main competitors that you'll have in any given market, kind of like we talked about in that first question. Your position in comparison to them. Are you very closely aligned? Are you guys kind of worlds apart? And then again, where's that white space and what's going to keep you separate from them? So this is something that, like I said, we like to do. We like to plot this out. We're going to give you the example of the auto industry. So when we look at cars, we're looking at, high sophistication versus low sophistication, high excitement versus low excitement. And so for this purpose, we went ahead and mapped this out. So of course, we're going to see Porsche, they're up there, high excitement, right? High sophistication, BMW, Mercedes, Lincoln, kind of all in that upper quadrant. And then you have Subaru down there, still high excitement, right? Because you're still going to get out there with your Subaru. Maybe you're going to still go hiking, take it up on some trails so you can get out there and explore. But it's more of that low sophistication. But as you can see, they've really etched out that marketplace for themselves. They have a very distinct white space. They don't have a lot of people. They have no one competing with them in this realm and within this example. But and then same thing with Volvo. They are, definitely more high sophistication, but not as high on the excitement front. And then of course you have your Toyotas, your Fords, your Chevys, and your Hondas there down there in that low excitement and low sophistication area. But this is just a really great visual that you can see as to maybe where you want to grow or expand. Maybe Volvo wants to try to, up their level of sophistication and whatnot. And so there are tools to do this where if you had your data points, you could pay services to help you plot this. But a lot of times you know enough about your business and how you want to be and how you're perceived as well. And so we also recommend too running multiples, just like for this with the auto industry. Great that we're going to look at the high sophistication, but maybe we also want to look at the green effect and the green element of that and how we're helping the environment. So you could plot it that way too. And then just to give you another example, so as far as the beer industry goes, looking at like the premium brands versus kind of the value, maybe it's because it's premium, I'm going to maybe drink it at a nightclub or at a really nice dinner. Or, this is just me I've had a rough day or a long day and I'm just going to open a beer at the end of the day. And so it might just kind of be my stay at home kind of type beverage. So we, again, plotted this out. Heineken's kind of up there at the top. You got Foster's down there at the bottom. You got your Corona, obviously going to be kind of more stay at home, or as they like to tell you on those wonderful commercials on your vacation. But so again, just this gives you that opportunity to plot it out, and then you can still see there's room for like maybe this wonderful beverage that you maybe do have at home that's more premium. So as you can see, there's some white space here. So if you were looking at it, there might be some opportunity for you to grow into that space. Or if it's really crowded, you can then again look for ways to get back into that white space, so you have some more room to breathe and the ability to share your message in a really distinct way. All right. And so again, the whole point of these maps, and when you're doing the positioning, the map is really the tool. Positioning is you figuring out where you stand out. And so you're just really trying to figure out how are you different, but then also acknowledging how you're the same. And so then you can definitely know that. And like, maybe we're not going to beat them on price, but hey, we're going to beat them on quality, and we're going to beat them on all these other things. So it just gives you that clear roadmap as to where you're at within the industry and in your market, and how you can grow as well. So any questions about market positioning that you guys might have? All right, cool. Well, I'll toss it over to Brittany to talk about market opportunities and that strategic window.
All right, well, hi, everybody. So market opportunities and strategic windows, when we're looking at those positioning maps, if you take into account external factors like some things that are kind of relevant right now, does your restaurant offer food delivery, or what level of it? Do you offer curbside assistance? Are you doing anything to support local COVID relief funds or anything like that? You can use those kinds of things to map out your positioning as well, and see where there's white space and where there's opportunities. So the main thing to remember about market opportunities is that typically these are for a short period of time. So when you're seeing that white space in these kinds of ways, when you're looking at those external factors, they're not generally long-term, but you can take advantage of them in the moment at that time. We generally call this a strategic window. The definition for a strategic window is a temporary period of optimal fit between the key requirements of a market and the particular capabilities of a firm competing in that market. So when you can perfectly align your firm's capabilities and a market opportunity is really when you can take advantage of a competitive advantage right then and there. So when this window is open, generally the costs are lower and your ROI is going to be higher. Once you're kind of late to the party, higher costs, lower ROI. But if you can be proactive enough to see these market opportunities and take advantage of these strategic windows, you can really capitalize on what you're really good at in that moment. So that's where we go to competitive advantage. Jack Welch was a legendary CEO. He was CEO of GE for a long time. He said, if you don't have a competitive advantage, don't compete. And I just love that quote because I think it's pretty relevant to every business. So I wanted to include that in here. So competitive advantage, there's two real ways that we find a competitive advantage for a company. One is external, one is internal. So I'll talk about internal first, but the real first thing we do is a SWOT analysis. I'm sure everybody's heard of a SWOT analysis, done a SWOT analysis. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Strengths and weaknesses are always internal focus. So what does your company do well? What does it not do so well? So those are your strengths and weaknesses. Once you can plot out those strengths and weaknesses, you can look at each strength as a unique capability and ask yourself for each one, is it valuable? Is it rare? Is it hard to imitate from your competitors? And is it organized? So are you promoting it? That's called a VRIO analysis. And this will help lead you to what of your unique capabilities are your sustainable competitive advantage. So that's looking internal. Looking external, we look at all of the forces in our environment, as well as the OT, the opportunities and threats, the SWOT analysis. So an easy way for me to remember the external forces is PESTEL, so political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal. These are all the forces that could have an impact on your company, on your business. Changes in politics, changes in the environment and pandemics and all of those kinds of things have a huge effect on our business. So understanding all of those forces and then looking at the opportunities and threats within those. So when we're looking at opportunities and threats, so opportunities are really reviewing to see which of our opportunities aligns well with our strengths. So when we're looking at those core capabilities that we have identified in our strengths, we want to see which ones align with the opportunities that we're seeing in the market. And then we want to also look at threats because for one, we want to just make sure we know what the lookouts are, avoid any missteps. But for two, there are sometimes opportunities to convert threats to opportunities, right? So you could see a new competitor in the market doing something new that could be a threat, but maybe you can partner with that person or that competitor and turn it into an opportunity for your business. So making sure we understand these to really see what those opportunities are that align with what we do best. So this is kind of how that looks. Get your businessy diagram. Market opportunities, core competencies. When these two are in perfect alignment, we really see that competitive advantage. That's where we can really capitalize on something that's unique to you and unique to the market, and really go after it. Now, getting a competitive advantage through an external focus definitely has pros and cons. So the pro is that a lot of businesses are not agile enough to actually do this, right? So any larger companies, if there's a lot of layers, those kinds of things, it's hard to take advantage of the strategic window or the market opportunity that's there right now, because they have to go through approvals and there's a lot of layers to get things done. They can't be nimble, they can't act so fast. So for smaller companies, this is a great opportunity to be able to seize and capitalize on, because the larger competitors can't do it. So if you are nimble and agile, you can really take advantage of whatever is happening today in the market where other people can't necessarily do that. So that's a huge advantage. A con is, like I said, the windows are usually just that, windows. They close at some point. So it's not sustainable. This isn't going to be something that is going to be a competitive advantage for years and years. It's going to be something that you're going to gain a temporary competitive advantage for. But if you can continue to address those market opportunities, then your sustainable competitive advantage really is how nimble you are, right? So you can kind of keep iterating and keep taking advantage of these opportunities. But they will change because the opportunities will change all the time. You won't see the same opportunities today that we will 6 months from now. So these are some of the pros and cons of taking an external approach to competitive advantage. Now we just have some examples for you. So one example is a client of mine. Their name is Mismo. So what they do is they're based in Costa Rica and San Francisco. They pair small to medium-sized fintech companies in large tech hubs like San Francisco, Austin, New York, with talent in Latin America. So software engineers, developers, those kinds of, that kind of talent. What they started as in 2019, they really were messaging as staff augmentation. So they would provide extra bandwidth, basically, so you could hire someone to give your team extra bandwidth. Now with the pandemic, it's so common that we're all remote, right? So most of us are at home, and it's become so much more accepted to have a remote team. So we just pivoted the language a bit and the messaging so that they can offer remote teams to these companies. And it's really no different than hiring a whole team of engineers in Silicon Valley, because everybody's working remotely anyways, except it's much less expensive. And since they're in Latin America, it's all the same time zone as the US. So it's really not different for the fintech companies. So just by pivoting messaging a little bit, taking advantage of the search traffic for one on Google, those kinds of things, they've really been able to get a huge influx of fintech companies looking for remote team solutions, looking to hire these software developers, and have found great talent in Latin America to really meet those needs and fill those roles. And it's kind of a win-win for everybody, taking advantage of what's going on in the market right now.
All right, cool. Thanks, Brittany. So another example that we have, one of the clients that I have the opportunity to work with is Santa Maria Valley. So we looked at them and we looked at their positioning as well, really at the start. So they're down in Santa Barbara County area, really beautiful. They have great beaches. They have wineries. They're known for their tri-tip. You might have seen like the Santa Maria seasoning at the store. That's why. It's because of this incredible valley. So of course, when the shutdown happened, we recognized how challenging that was. But now as things are starting to open up, recognizing people are so excited to get out there and travel again. And so one of the things that we looked at, knowing that they're really close to Santa Barbara, they're very close, obviously, to San Luis Obispo, knowing those are very well-known places, and they also come with high price tags to get to come visit them. And so with that, we kind of had some fun by saying like, yeah, Pismo's great, but Santa Maria Valley is wide open. And so for us, that was kind of this competitive advantage of wide open spaces. You're not going to have to be fighting the crowds. And then also, yeah, all these places are pretty, but we have these great views too. So we had a lot of fun, kind of just poking fun a little bit at our neighbors, and it was all in good fun. But what we also looked at too, knowing who our audience was, we offered $100 gift card to come and travel and visit Santa Maria Valley, to give people an incentive to come and see it at maybe a place that they had never considered. And what was really cool about just taking that little step and doing something a little bit different is we were able to get national news coverage actually from this. CNN had covered it on their travel page, and then also NBC Nightly News covered it as well. And again, that was all just for giving away $100 credit or gift card at the end of a stay. And so really great returns. We had thousands of people on the wait list afterwards that were just so excited. So lots of great opportunity there. But again, when we were looking at this, we knew, great, we maybe won't be as crowded. We are maybe a more affordable option, but we still have on those similarities. We still have great wineries, we have great food, and we have all of these great views that people are used to. So we kind of took, again, that look at our positioning as maybe we're not going to be this premier, very expensive travel destination, but hey, we can still offer all these really great amenities and offer you a really great time.
And then our third example, I'm going to attempt to play a video, so bear with me when I do, is People Grove. So this is a software as a service company. They have a platform for higher education. They pair students with other students or students with alumni with similar interests, similar career paths or interests, clubs, whatever it is. And what they do best really is building these deep connections, giving an opportunity and a space for mentorship programs, for experiential learning, a lot of things like that. So they really support these students throughout their student journey and then into alumni. When the pandemic happened, it was extremely difficult for higher education institutions to recruit. They could no longer do the in-person admissions events. They could no longer do a lot of the big campus tours they used to. So they're really looking for new solutions and new ways to get prospective students to not only apply, but then actually enroll in classes and follow through and make sure that they go to their institution. And so what People Grove did was expand on their enrollment solution. They started really promoting how they can pair prospective students with current students and alumni ambassadors who have similar interests, similar educational paths, so that you can provide a real person for these prospective students to talk to virtually, instead of doing those in-person recruitment where they would normally talk to somebody, try to figure out how they would fit on campus, if it's a good fit for them. Is there a volleyball club I could join? Those kinds of things they would typically find out at those kinds of events. But now they can do that online. So what People Grove did was see the market, see the opportunity, align it with what they did really well, and start promoting that as a competitive advantage for them. So this is just a little video to kind of show the enrollment solution. So hopefully it plays okay. So putting out a campaign like this, making sure it's known that they can be in this space too, they can use their core functionality to address the needs of the market. And there's tons of examples like this out there. Like when you see a local bar holding a happy hour virtually where they teach you how to mix a cocktail, or when a restaurant does an at-home delivery kit and shows you the steps of how to make food. All of these things really taking advantage. Or there was one coffee shop that did, for every coffee you bought, they would donate one to first responders. So a lot of different ways to use your marketing and your messaging to align with what's going on in the market right now, being nimble and gaining a competitive advantage through external focus. So that is, whoop, nope. That is our presentation for today. Happy to answer any questions you guys have, or talk about whatever you might be on your mind with competitive advantage.
Right. Thank you so much to both of you. I've been so impressed with both of these presentations from KPS3, and it's amazing to have this level of expertise, right at our fingertips, right here, in a webinar like this, or available on YouTube to watch, and knowing that you guys are here locally is just all the better. So thank you so much for taking that time to help us today. I think one of my big questions, and I'll just go ahead and kick us off. And if you have any questions, anyone who's on the call, please feel free to enable your video and audio and share those questions in real time, or you can always use chat if you're more comfortable doing it that way. That's always an option for you. I guess, not to be a Debbie Downer, but have you seen any examples of perhaps, businesses who are attempting to do some kind of white space analysis and determining, what space they need to pursue next in terms of staying competitive? What are some of the things that typically go wrong when a business is doing that? What are some snags that people tend to run into?
Yeah, so I would say not doing enough research. So just because there is that white space, if you don't know your clients or your target audience and you don't know what they want, then that would definitely be a big snag. For instance, if you've decided all of a sudden that you want to maybe try to go up into the more premium kind of area, but your target audience is used to maybe the lower end, there's going to be a big gap there. So I think making sure you do the research and making sure you really understand who your customers are, and making sure that they're going to actually want to have that service is going to be a really big part of it.
Yeah.
So research.
I'll just add to that. A lot of the times the misstep that happens is really looking at it from the business's point of view or the management's point of view, and not from the customer's point of view. So understanding the difference between those two, and then, like Sarah said, doing the research to understand what your customers actually think and what they want and what their needs are, and not just the management projecting what they think the market wants.
Right. Absolutely. We get into a lot of trouble when we think we know and perhaps don't know as well our customer base or our client base. What are some ways? I mean, some small businesses are, in thinking about the possibility of needing to do research in order to find out where the next big thing lies, they might be overwhelmed. I mean, right now they're dealing with applying for PPP loans and looking toward getting those reconciled and forgiven, making payroll, making sure that all of the myriad needs of the business are being met. So what would you say to a business owner who perhaps feels overwhelmed but knows they probably need to start doing some research in order to figure out how to move forward? What are some really easy ways that businesses can do that research without breaking the bank or breaking their backs?
I think there is a lot of great opportunities, probably things you're already doing, but maybe you're just not recognizing it as research. So reading your Yelp reviews. What are people saying about you? What are some of those pain points that you might be able to solve? Looking at your competitors as well. And then, of course, your social media channels provides a lot of great information. If people are engaging with something, maybe that's a good opportunity to look at that maybe is exciting them. Also, on the reverse side, if there's some negative feedback, great ways for you to fix that and maybe turning that weakness into a strength. And then, of course, just staying up on the news, which everybody kind of does because it's always in our face. And I know Steph had talked a lot about that last week, right? Is just staying up, staying current with the trends that are happening, and then seeing if there's a way that your business might be able to fit into that. And then if you have the opportunity to talk to your customers, having those one-on-one conversations is so helpful. And a lot of times people are really happy to be able to share that, and they want to be heard and they appreciate when asked.
Yeah.
Awesome.
A simple survey on email or social media or even in person, if like through a card or whatever, making sure you understand what questions you want to ask and what your goals are, and then doing some kind of survey is, like Sarah said, there's so much that's available right now, but if you could do a simple survey, that will really give a ton of information and a ton of feedback for you to go off of.
Excellent. Love it. All right. What other questions are out there from anyone on the call?
So you mentioned that it's tough for a larger company to really hop on a market opportunity just because of their size, but do you see any businesses that take advantage of market opportunities and do it well?
Larger businesses?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the way I see that playing out usually is through social media, when people take advantage of those kinds of trends right away, when they have super active social media and they have the right personality to be able to jump on those trends right away, is a great way that larger companies can really take advantage of something that's happening in the moment. Pivoting, the hard part, I think, for larger companies is really if you're pivoting all of your messaging or coming out with a new product that serves the market in that opportunity. But there are definitely smaller ways to be able to do that.
Right. And what other questions are out there? Stefan, do you have something?
Yeah, definitely. I had two. One, I wanted to tell you guys an example. I want you guys to tell me if that is, if this company's taking advantage of the market. And two, I had a question. The first example. So I saw this commercial. It was a Mentos commercial, and they have their mask. Everyone's had their mask, but the little thing or the catchphrase that they had was "mint before you mask," because mask breath is real. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I was like, oh man, that's super. That's a really cool marketing campaign that they're doing. And I just wanted the question that asked is Mentos, is that a great example of them taking advantage of the market?
For sure. I mean, especially since a lot of their ads before that were like good breath for when you're like meeting people and talking to people. Yeah. And that's not really a thing right now. So pivoting their advertising in that way for sure is, I think, a great example of that.
Absolutely.
And then the next question I had is, how do you stand out, with, like, I guess, how do you stand out and not do everything that everyone else is doing? So like, for example, there's a lot of campaigns with the mask, but how do you not, get on the same train as everyone else, but do something totally different that makes your company stand out?
Yeah. So for that one, I would say being really clear about your brand and what you stand for in those like brand pillars, that if you have those, or your company values, if you can lean into those, because that's really kind of at the end of the day, your foundation, what makes you unique, you will be able to still stand out. So Santa Maria is another, the one that I had shown you. So they're all about fun and laid back. And so when COVID hit, we still went out with that COVID message, but we still kept it really friendly, still casual. And we looked for just different ways for people to maybe cook tri-tip at their house. And we were giving them those recipes because everything for Santa Maria is based off that very welcoming kind of vibe. So I think if you can stay true to your brand promise and that mission that you have, you will stand out in your own way.
Thank you.
All right, fantastic questions. I think we're probably getting ready to wrap up. If anyone has any questions they want to enter into chat, now is the time to do so. But I have a burning curiosity because I think we're all sensing, a shift. I think it's undeniable. We're sensing a shift when it comes to, customer sentiment, public opinion, readiness to, quote unquote, get back out into the world. Things are starting to shift and, dovetail together, such as, vaccine doses going out, positivity rates going down. What do you see as the next big opportunity for businesses to capitalize on in terms of marketing as we're climbing out of a global pandemic and hopefully into the future? What kind of trends are you seeing at the moment?
I can take that one. So I think that there's a lot of uncertainty still in a lot of industries. And I think that for anything that's consumer focused, there's still this trepidation of like responsibly returning to normal and not just like all of a sudden, yeah, everything's good now. Let's all go crazy. So being able to message appropriately and make sure people are reassured and getting the information. I think that there's what I've seen is a real thirst for just like what is actually happening, and not so much and trying to negate some of that uncertainty that's really there. So just being super transparent, just being super honest, and making sure that you're messaging appropriately to say exactly what precautions you're taking to return to business safely, or try to get back to where things might have been before or close to it within the guidelines and all those kinds of things. So that's what I've seen. Sarah, I'm not sure if you.
I think the only other thing I would add is just hopeful messages. I think are going to be a really key thing is as people are starting to get back out there, showing them that, yeah, you could, like Brit saying, you can come have fun, but you can do it in this really safe way.
Fantastic. No, I think those are words to live by. I think, being transparent, being honest. People are not dumb. They aren't. They can see, they can cut right through. And so it's important to be honest and Sarah, to your point, also hopeful. I think that really is a trend that we're seeing really resonate with folks, and rightfully so. And that seems like a good spot to end on a nice, hopeful note. So thank you all once again for joining us. If you're interested in seeing this deck after the fact or watching the presentation again, it'll be on YouTube later today, so you can watch, rewatch, watch again, send to your teams, etc. And also, I believe Brit and Sarah are going to avail their presentation to us so that I can pass it along to you via email. So thank you both in advance for that. And thank you both for joining us today. And thanks to everyone who's been on the call. I hope everyone has a great day, and does some soul searching today on those opportunities and how to take advantage of them.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
See you again.
Bye.
Thank you.